So now tell me where you're really going.
Going on vacation.
Good boy. Now, where are we going?
Oh, with any luck, to an early grave. But right now, I am going to my boss's mountain cabin to fish and drink and fish, and sometimes even fish and drink and fish. For 1 week, I'm going to pretend that I'm actually alive.
Let's rock.
Thanks, Dad.
Can I get a whoopin'?
No Man presents, live from the nudie bar, the Married with Children podcast. And here are your hosts, Dan, Jamie, and Al. All right, man. Glad to be here. But hold on, guys. I'm just in the middle of a call. That's right. 6 dozen roses. That's right. From me. That's right. To me.
The fish must face Dan Chase, Bassmaster.
Ooh, nice. And my name is Al, and we are joined with a special guest host, Luigi Pedalino.
Woo. Luigi is so formal. Just call me Lulu.
What it do, Lulu?
Hi, guys. How's it going?
What's up,
Hey, man. Thank you for joining us again.
Well, my pleasure. Hey, it's been a great season 7 so far. So, been really enjoying each episode you guys churn out. So, my kudos to you guys.
Thanks, man. Yeah, Jamie couldn't make it. It's funny. A guy emailed me at the end of season 6, and he goes, I love your show, man, but I don't think even you guys can get me to sit through season 7 in any way, shape, or form. So I said to him, listen, our show is not a reflection of how good the episode is. You could throw us the worst episode, and we're going to try to take it and spit something out that's entertaining, hopefully, So if that's working so far, thank you.
It's been very, very entertaining. I mean, you guys are a great team, and I enjoy listening to you every week.
Thanks, man.
I feel like some of the worst Married with Children episodes are some of our best ones, actually.
I definitely had fun with that birthday one. Like, ripping that to pieces was a good time.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, they exactly nailed it.
So, and of course, Luigi is part of the Married with Children research team, and this guy just drops a ton of bricks of notes every episode. You're amazing, dude. You give so much insight to all the cultural references and all that type of stuff, so thank you for that every week, man.
Well, thank you. Like, I feel like I'm the Cliff Clavin of the podcast.
Yep.
But what I'll say is, there's a bunch of people who listen to the podcast who are on the younger side of our audience spectrum. So some of the stuff from the 90s is really not going to come very easily to them. I remember, like, for example, there was a mention of Fergie at one point, and it's like, we're talking about Sarah Ferguson, we're not talking about Fergalicious, as you call it, then, right? So I think it's great to educate it, because then that makes the jokes funnier. Right. When you actually know what the reference is, try not to bore people, but, I think, you guys do a great job of keeping it entertaining, keeping the pace moving.
Thanks, man.
Thanks. Yeah, context is everything for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's keep this moving. This is called, we're reviewing It Doesn't Get Any Better Than This. Al takes a fishing trip alone, only to have Peg and Marcy show up and spoil his vacation. Okay, that's a horrible description. And this is from the DVDs that Sony released.
Who do you think is worse then, that DVD one or IMDb?
Oh, well, that's just people writing it. Sometimes they just say too many things, and they are also wrong a lot. But this should be more accurate. But they're acting like Al was at the cabin, and then these two just showed up.
They just showed up like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not the premise on this one.
No.
No.
The title of this episode is taken from Al's visions of what his time away was going to be like, rather than reality. So it does get a lot better than what happened here.
Al
Al Bundy wanted a quiet vacation.
Which one of us has the firmest hiney?
What he got was a holiday in hell.
I'm blind!
And all new Married with Children, Sunday on Fox.
Al's sitting on the couch. It's 5 a.m. He has all of his fishing gear on. He got his tackle box on the table. And he's going to Lake Chunky. And he has a shirt on that says, I fished, therefore I am. And that is a spoof of Rene Descartes' famous declaration, I think, therefore I am.
And, I had to look up, what does a chunky mean? Because, I'm not a fisherman. So apparently it means a broad or heavy fish. So he's going bass fishing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, he did call himself Bassmaster.
It is 5 a.m., and the morning sun is peeking through the pines of Lake Chunky. But it is no ordinary morning. The fish must face more than just the sun today. The fish must face Al Bundy, Bassmaster.
But yeah, and the one thing I noticed about this scene right off the bat was Al talking to us, talking to the camera.
He does it a few times. I don't know if he's done it. I'd have to think back if he's actually done it up to this point. But he has broken the fourth wall. Oh, actually, wait a minute. Remember when in the voting episode when they go voting, he says, and read my lips. Remember at the end scene. So he does break the fourth wall there. But I'm thinking even earlier than that, very possible.
But I think it worked really well here. I don't know about you guys, but to start the episode off like that too, and it's not like they overdo it like some shows do, because now it's kind of cliche actually to just
Oh, at this point, sure.
But it reminded me of Wayne's World.
That's like fourth wall jamboree right there. No, like Al has done it a ton of times. It depends what kind of context or how you're perceiving it or how we're perceiving what he is doing. Like, for example, when he eats all those tacos and burritos with the hot sauce, he looks straight ahead and maybe, I think this is like the right thing. He says like, let's rock. Like, he's obviously talking to an audience, but is he just saying it to himself?
Yeah, right.
So
we don't really know.
Yeah. And, one of the things I really like about this episode, it touches on something, that's near and dear to me. It's like, for example, your own mental health. Mm-hmm. So remember in The Goodbye Girl, Al goes on vacation on his couch, right? And he needs a week of mental health, relief. Otherwise, he's going to kill all of them in alphabetical order, right? Mm-hmm. But in this case, it's like, hey, he's able to actually get a fishing cabin. He wants to go by himself, and relax. And, and the last time they went camping, that was a disaster. That was the camping show, a.k.a. a period piece.
Right.
So let me ask you, have you guys ever vacationed on your own, for your own mental health?
It's necessary a lot, I'm big on being sporadic too, not giving something too much thought, like some weekend getaways that we've done, it's just been on a whim just because it's like, okay, yeah, no, we need to get out of here for a little bit, and you just go and everything always works out. And because, you don't always need all that planning and stuff like that. It's just nice to get away and not worry about anything. It works the opposite way sometimes, I feel like, with vacations and stuff, because people try and put too much effort into it, too much planning, and they just end up getting stressed out. Like, you're defeating the purpose.
I need a vacation for my vacation.
Right. And that's why I sympathize with Al in this episode, because it's like, hey, he just wants to unwind, have a few relaxing days where he doesn't have to deal with, the nagging and the children and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, his plans are foiled.
He can't even get a nice, quiet ride there. Right. They're there right away. It's like nothing happening.
I almost feel like this is a problem with Aldo. At this point in the game, he's got to be better than this. He's got to be better at maneuvering to get out of there. And waking up at 5 a.m., that's a start.
Yeah, it's a start.
Yeah, it's right. But like you gotta be a ninja with that stuff, especially because his family, all the episodes that we've seen, this is their MO. This is what they do.
Right. Yeah, why were you sitting there talking to us? You should have been driving already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Alex, this is a callback for you. You remember in the poker game, he won the, he took Steve's money, right? And he won it, and he got himself a fishing rod, and he was a lot more slick, back in season 1. So what happened to him in 6 years, right?
He's defeated. Maybe he dulled those types of senses, but he's definitely getting sloppy, and sitting on the couch after all this is amazing to me. You would think this guy would be a ninja and he'd be out of here, but no, for some reason Peg's up at the crack of dawn. God only knows why. So Al practices casting in the house, which is apparently a normal pre-fishing ritual, because Buck sees it coming and he snags Buck with the hook.
Here it comes. I shall now cast. Sorry there, boy.
And he goes and then Al he doesn't have to come and pick it out of his skin. He could just tugs it. It just comes out. I don't know. That's a TV show for you.
As Al lays his worm upon the waters, a mighty hush falls over the woodland. What creature would dare disturb him? The loon, of course.
And I think it's funny. It says, what creature would dare disturb him? And then it's Peg comes down. Hi, honey. It's the loon, of course. So a loon is an aquatic bird, and it's actually featured prominently on the Canadian $1 coin. Hence the name Looney, for those of you who travel to Canada.
Al, are you going fishing?
Fishing? What makes you think that? Oh, and Peg, by the way, and this is a totally unrelated topic. If you're looking for me next week, I won't be around. I'll be at work.
Work.
It's a 5-day, 24-hour daylight, moonlight madness sale.
Well, then they did go to the right man for the job. Who but you could go daylight, moonlight, daylight, moonlight, daylight, moonlight without showering or changing his clothes?
Hey, the shoe game ain't for sissy boys, baby. Anyhow, in case you were going to call, which you never do, but which I know you would just this once, all wives are strictly prohibited from calling or coming anywhere near the shoe store for the entire duration of the sale. Naturally, this has us shoe guys up in arms, especially me, because Peg, Lord knows you, is my inspiration.
Oh, wait a second, honey.
Oh!
You just had a hair on your head. Don't worry, I got it. So now tell me where you're really going.
You're not tough enough to force it out of me. Going on vacation.
Good boy. Now, where are we going?
Oh, with any luck, to an early grave. But right now, I am going to my boss's mountain cabin to fish and drink and fish, and sometimes even fish and drink and fish. For 1 week, I'm going to pretend that I'm actually alive.
Now, what really is strange here is that Al says he's going to his boss's mountain cabin. Are we supposed to believe this is Gary's, the chick Gary from the shoe store's cabin?
Right.
And why would she let him in there?
Right. We don't know that she's a chick yet.
No. It's just weird to say that at all, because we've had no interaction with Al's boss. The only interaction we ever had was a fake boss.
Right. Yeah, it was kind of a weird, you had to think back, wait, who is Al's boss, first of all? Right. And second of all, why would he give him the cabin for the weekend? What? Yeah,
that's weird. So Marcy rings the doorbell. Al says it's the paper boy. And then Marcy does another classic, hand on waist chicken pose when she's trying to emote.
Out of the way, shoe yeti. Oh, Peggy, you'll never guess what Jefferson did.
Misunderstood your cries of pluck me to the butcher?
But clearly, your cries of pluck me to the barber did not go unanswered.
Marcy, have the nerve to face me when you're speaking to me? Whoops, you are. Hey, we got to get you a sign that says front and back.
Then we should get you one for your pants, eh?
So Marcy says, out of the way, shoe Yeti, just before that. So the Yeti is also known as the Abominable Snowman, which is a folkloric ape-like creature taller than the average human that is said to inhabit the Himalayan mountains.
They finally found him. Al's lines and like him saying that Marcy is so flat, you don't know which way she's facing. That is just amazing, and you get so many Marcy disses in this one segment. I always have a fear that they're going to run out. I don't like it when they throw too many Marcy digs in one section, because I think like, oh man, you could have saved that for the next,
They had even more setups too, but they didn't decide to go that route later on in the episode. I mean, it was still digs at her, but it was more of digs of like just females in general, because Peg was intertwined with it. But yeah, I thought this was going to be a setup for a Marcy massacre.
Listen to this. Even though Jefferson has a job, he is still charging his lunches on my credit card. And you should see the size of the tips he leaves the waitresses. And you know what he said when I called him on it? Hey, babe, I'm good looking. That's his answer to everything.
Well, what's his answer to cries of, hey there, where you going with that little boy?
Go pick your hiney. Women are talking. Anyhow, I refuse to spend another minute alone with Jefferson. I don't even want to be in the same house with him.
Well, then I think I have the perfect solution.
Peg, if this is what I'm thinking, I shall have to unleash my veto power.
You see, Al and I are going on vacation.
Veto, I say. Veto.
So Peg invites Marcy to come along on this thing that she's not even really invited to.
Really? No, she wasn't invited at all.
Neither of them were, right?
I know. Life is still taking a dump right on Al's head, man.
Oh, stop pouting, Al. If I don't see a smile, I will forbid you to come with us. That's better. Now, come on.
You didn't forget anything, did you?
Nothing that matters.
What's going on?
Cheese it, the kids.
Vacation! Curse you! I curse you to your worst nightmare. An eternity of being together. And you can't leave the bedroom. And Grandma's there. And she's out of Depend!
Bud!
What?
Mom and Dad just left us alone. Alone, with no parental supervision.
And stay out! Yes! Finally alone! Free to run amok.
And I will say, I thought it was really funny, the historical reference he said, because, Al starts yelling, veto, I say. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who don't know, a veto is a Latin word which means I forbid, and it is the power used by an officer of the state, for example, to unilaterally stop an official action, especially the enactment of legislation. And the institution of the veto, known to the Romans as the intercessio, was adopted by the Roman Republic in the 6th century BC. So at the end of this podcast, we're going to have a quiz, everyone.
Oh, the Hooters I'll be a-juggling.
Yeah, well, just don't hurt your hand on the staples.
Did your parents ever leave you at home for a week around that age? Like when you were 18, did they ever say like, well, me and Mom, we want to go on a vacation to Bermuda. Do you want to go or not? You could stay home if you want. And at that point, at 18, you're like, well, yeah, go ahead, have fun.
Yes.
Yeah, not a problem.
Patiently waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 1998. My parents finally went on a vacation without me, man. It was the coolest thing ever. I finally had the house to myself. And it's weird, like, there was no... You think it would be some big official goodbye and to tell you a bunch of things, but no, not really. They just said, here's my...
But I mean, like at 18, the risk of you burning down the house is fairly low, right?
Yeah.
And if you do burn it down, then you're legally responsible for it, right?
Dude, I had literally the complete opposite experience. when my mom was leaving, it was very much don't have any parties. And guess what? I threw a rager. I threw a rager.
Well, I got good news and bad news. The good news is you have plenty of room in your liquor cabinet. The bad news is I threw a party, and there's a hole in the wall.
Oh, dude, no, that actually did happen too. There were several in the basement. Yeah,
were they head shaped?
Did you learn how to spackle after that, Dan?
I did. No, honestly, yes. I gave it. It was a valiant effort, but I went to.
Now he does drywall.
Right, but after I spackled it, so I had to paint it. So I painted the entire room. Ooh. So like one of those vacation days that I had to myself, it was probably a Sunday or whatever. While it was their vacation, I was spent spackling and painting the entire room.
Fun.
When they came back, they're like, wow, Dan, maybe we should go away more often.
Yeah, like, wow, every time we come back, our house is remodeled.
Yeah, they found out like 2 days later, my neighbor, because the cops came. It was a whole thing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's one thing I want to point out. So Kelly says that she says, I mean, we haven't been left entirely alone since we were in diapers. But, I mean, did they forget about when they had dinner with Anthrax?
Oh, yeah. Boy, what a short memory.
Right.
Wow, that's true. And there were holes in the walls there, too.
That's right. They should have called Dan and go plug them up.
He'd be happy to do it.
Perfect.
So, Bud, this is a great line that sort of just goes unnoticed. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much of a big deal the audience can make out of it, but I just thought this was real funny.
Oh, the Hooters I'll be a-juggling.
Yeah, well, just don't hurt your hand on the staples.
Oh, my God. Talk about shooting someone down, man. Wow. Amazing. I just love that, though, because first of all, as soon as he says it, it's like, well, what makes you think you'll be juggling anything just because your parents won't be home? You think it's that easy, bro? It hasn't been too easy for you yet, has it? I mean, then again, I guess he did have sex in the last episode, but whatever.
But we're free, with no responsibility to anyone but ourselves.
Hey, guys, what's for breakfast?
Curse you! Curse your mangy hides and the horses you rode in on! Look what they did to us. They left us with this little walking booger.
7 comes down the stairs. I mean, it was just as much of a downer for Kelly and Bud to see him as it was for us to see him.
Right? Yeah, we all shared in that collective hatred.
We all shared it, that moment.
Well, you know why, too? Is because he started talking. And it's like, oh no, they gave this little crumb snatcher lines. Like, oh, like I could just tell where this is headed. And I was like, I don't like it one bit. I hope that they spend a long time at the cabin.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, I have 2 young boys, and I've tried that parakeet trick, and it doesn't seem to work. So I'm wondering what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, I can't believe it worked here.
Did you guys like that? I thought that was so stupid. Like that whole running gag.
I thought it was very stupid, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I like how Jefferson tried and failed miserably.
Yeah, that kind of made it work,
That kind of made it worth it, I think. But the other ones are just kind of stupid. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, and Alex, you've made this comment before on the podcast. It's like, this is like very much a cartoon episode, with like what the tactics that they use, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's like either you have to buy into the fact that it's a cartoon or you're not going to like the episode at all.
It was tough to swallow when he starts snoring instantly. That made it a little difficult. But then, you're watching a show and you're here for the joke they're telling you. You're not here to see a mirror of reality. So once you realize that, or once you keep getting reminded anyway, because, listen, if a show is grounded, then you don't think of any of this. It's when it starts grounded and all of a sudden they decide to let's be a little more zany, then all of a sudden you start questioning it, you know? Right. So, for example, watching The Simpsons, you wouldn't question anything that goes on there, right?
Well, right. It's a cartoon, yeah.
Right. This one started as a grounded show.
Right.
About kind of serious topics, 16 years and what do you get and all this kind of stuff. And then now you're throwing a parakeet sheet on somebody.
Well, so the thing is, though, about it is the fact that I think it's all based in reality, and it's very kind of dark humorous the way Married with Children approaches it, because with something like that, you think back to the original deal, like, why are they doing this? And it's because they don't want to feed them, so they just want them to sleep until they get home. Like, it just makes you shake your head and just kind of laugh to yourself. And it's just like, well, okay, so that's what they're doing. And then, honestly, with the whole blanket thing, even afterwards, when they all put themselves under it, I thought, it's just like, we don't know what to do without them, so we're just going to go to sleep. And there is, like, a kernel of truth to that. You know, you ever try and, you know, get through a day that you don't, you know, I think of like being sick or something.
You just go to sleep. Yeah.
If I just go to sleep early, like this day will be over. And yeah, so there are nuggets, kernels of truth that makes these over the top things, I think, work. You know, the ideas are based on real things. It's just a weird kind of, like I said, dark humor way of going about it.
I'm hungry.
Well, Kelly's stupid. Nobody's helping her.
Yeah. And believe me, my mind was a terrible thing to taste. What if Mom and Dad didn't leave us any food or anything?
Come on, Kel. Now, I know Mom and Dad aren't way up there on the evolutionary scale, but even dung beetles wouldn't go on vacation without providing for their young. See? Who wants some baking soda on a cracker? That's not a cracker. It's a cockroach. It's coming right at me. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure which was moving which.
Which doesn't really surprise me. I don't know why they're so surprised.
That was my big thing. They were like, they didn't even leave us any money for food. I'm like, when do they ever leave you money or food?
Even if they're home, they're not leaving you food. There's nothing there.
Right. If they do, they're taking it.
Yeah.
Just a fridge with the box of baking soda, which I think I talked about this one other time on the show. Nobody really does that anymore, or maybe just I don't know anyone who does that anymore, but I think fridges are better now. I think there's like a circulation system in them or something, but nobody really has to leave baking soda open in a fridge anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but Arm & Hammer will tell you otherwise.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it removes odor or something. And what odor would be in that fridge anyway? You know?
Right. Yeah, there's no food.
Well, the mystery pack was in there for a few years, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. I want to know, though, how do you mistake a cracker for a cockroach?
And how does the box push the roach?
I thought that was funny, though. Yeah, I didn't think, the logistics of that don't work, but I loved it when it moved. I thought that was great.
I mean, it's like a magical refrigerator, right? I think anything that goes in that refrigerator develops these magic properties, right? It's like, remember when the mystery pack, like, started biting at them? There's like, I think this thing's biting at me, like one of the Amtrak
If it's out of the freezer, why is it hot?
Right. It becomes the refrigerator from that show Dinosaurs. Anybody remember that show where they had animals always grabbing?
Oh, do you remember Pee-wee's refrigerator?
Yes. Oh my God. Right?
Dude, yeah. Pee-wee had the greatest refrigerator ever, man.
I got into an argument today with someone who didn't believe me that I had his toilet seat, the one that opened its mouth and stuff. I used to have that as a toy. And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, yeah, well, I had the whole play set, so that was involved with it, And I was like, yeah, I have the toilet, and it's got eyes and everything. And they just didn't believe me at all. They're like, nobody's going to make a toy of a toilet. I'm like, I had it.
Oh, Pee-wee did.
Yeah, exactly.
Feed me or I'm going to be really annoying.
What are we gonna do, Kel?
The parakeet trick. It's what Mom used to use on you when you got hungry during our soaps.
What is it?
Well, when a parakeet makes noise, you throw a blanket over its cage so they think it's night. They go to sleep.
Come on, Kel. Now, that can't possibly work.
Food. Food, 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 food.
Well, it's gonna be a week. Maybe we should get him a little mirror and a perch.
So Kelly at this point does the parakeet trick, throws the blanket over Seven, and he thinks it's nighttime, and he goes right to sleep instantly. So take that how you want. So they do it to themselves to sleep through the hunger. You know, they know they're not going to be eaten either. And like Dan said, when you know the day's not going to get any better, sometimes you just go to sleep.
This is my life now.
Yeah, this is my life, man.
Boy, this ought to teach Jefferson a lesson. He didn't even know I slipped out of bed this morning.
Well, maybe he's still out cold, having seen you slip into it. Okay, Brunhildes. Family meeting. Let's go, let's go. Gather round. All right, stay there. I'll come to you. That's better. Now, it's time to lay down the ground rules of the house. Rule number 1, there are 2 bedrooms. I get one alone. You 2 can share one. If you keep the door closed while you're changing, you don't want to kill my bait. Rule 2, speaking to me.
Al, nobody is going to speak to you. Nobody wants to speak to you. Nobody will speak to you. That's why it's so great that Marcy came along. Women are much better company for each other than men.
Men really do just get in the way, don't they? Just think if they were all dead. There'd be no more sports, no burping, no Howie Mandel. What a wonderful world it would be.
Yeah, but maybe we could keep the gay guys. They're so much fun at lunch and really good with color.
Well, without straight guys to wrong you women, where would they get those delightful stories for those wonderful made-for-TV movies?
So the cabin they go to is really nice, right? For the 90s, anyway.
Yeah, I love the set. I thought it was great.
And Alex, I mean, do you think they recycled parts of the camping show set on that?
Oh,
I really didn't look. You know, I wasn't able to look closely enough. But I mean, it looked fairly similar. You know, if not maybe reconfigured.
Definitely similar. I can't imagine they kept that set. Or unless they use it for some other shows and then they were able to.
That's what I was wondering. Do shows share props, or you know what I mean? Or is it just like a general like prop bin that all the shows can pick from? I always wondered that, because you would think that like as a cost-effective way,
right,
anybody could use them. So I don't have the answers. I just pose the questions.
Yeah. Otherwise, they got to get all these things every time, you know?
Right, exactly. And I'm sure that they do need a lot of stuff that they don't already have, but the things that they do have, you'd think that they'd want to reuse.
Right. Yeah, because they paid for it.
Right.
Women are much better company for each other than men.
Men really do just get in the way, don't they? Just think if they were all dead. There'd be no more sports, no burping, no Howie Mandel.
Yeah, Howie Mandel.
Now, what was he known for at this point? Little Monsters and...
Yeah, so Howie Mandel in 1987 starred in alongside Amy Steele in the comedy film Walk the Line.
Amy Steele?
Yeah.
You mean like Friday the 13th Part 2?
Really?
Yeah. So from 1982 to 1988, he starred in as ER intern Dr. Wayne Fiscus on St. Elsewhere.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and you're right, Dan. He created and starred in the children's cartoon Bobby's World, and he was a judge on NBC's America's Got Talent. He also had a talk show, and Christina Applegate was on that in 1998.
Oh.
And more recently, he hosted Deal or No Deal, which, by the way, Meghan Markle was one of the models on it during its second season.
Again with her.
It seems that every time
you're on, yeah, we talk about Meghan Markle.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have a thing for her, but I don't know, it just seems to be a coincidence this time.
We can't stop.
I hope Harry doesn't get jealous of me, right?
Well, we know he's going to listen, so.
He's a big fan. But yeah, Amy Steele from Friday the 13th Part 2 is in that movie. That's cool.
That's crazy. Yeah. And obviously, like I said, Little Monsters with Fred Savage. I was trying to think of things around that time. This might have been after that. But he's been around for a while, though.
Yeah, now he's known for being a germaphobe.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Well, let me ask you, do you like him better with hair or without hair?
Probably without. It suits him better. It's cleaner. You know what we do. You know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. I mean, we're members of BAD, right? You and I.
Yeah, bad. Podcasting with you two guys makes me think of something. Well, two things. One, I really miss shooting pool.
Wow.
I mean, Dan, actually, we're lucky that Lacey isn't on because, I think she would have abused both of us.
Oh, no, yeah. I'm not going to direct her to this episode in any possible way.
Oh, man, she was brutal.
Maybe we shouldn't have brought him along. Thank God we have each other.
I know. We're best friends and sisters.
Goodbye.
And we will be forever. Women's relationships throughout history have been much more supported than those of men.
My own room.
So Al walks into his own room. He said one of those bedrooms are only his, and those two have to share the other one. And he has his own room, and he's so happy. He's talking to his dead father.
Look, Dad. It's all mine. Got my own bed. I always wanted to have a bed of my own. How come I never had one? Ozzie had his own bed. Father from Father Knows Best had his own bed. Mr. Donna Reed had his own bed. Well, Mr. Peggy Bundy's gonna have his own bed. I'm gonna go out there right now and ask Peg if I never have to sleep with her again.
So the joke there is that, during the 50s and the 60s, married couples on TV generally slept in their separate beds. So he makes a reference to the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, which aired from 1952 to 1966. And in that one, Ozzie Nelson and his wife, singer Harriet Nelson, and their sons, Dave and Ricky, were part of this. And it's all America, it was a great American family, et cetera, et cetera. And Al actually made a reference to that show in Buck Has a Bellyache, season 6, episode 6. Then he makes another reference to Father Knows Best, which was a sitcom starring Robert Young, Jane Wyatt, Eleanor Donahue, Billy Gray, and Lauren Chapin. And it followed the lives of the Andersons, a middle-class family living in the Midwestern town of Springfield, which makes you wonder if the Simpsons of Springfield got their inspiration from that show.
Right.
That's all I thought of when you said that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. And, and Married with Children was advertised originally as a show where father doesn't know best. So that's another reference. And finally, the Donna Reed show was referenced, which was another sitcom starring Donna Reed as a middle-class housewife, Donna Stone, and Carl Betts co-starred as her pediatrician husband, Dr. Alex Stone. And that aired from 1958 to 1966.
So that was a thing then. Thank God that's over with, man. Can you imagine how awkward that is when you have to keep crawling over to your wife's bed? Like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I don't think it was until the 70s. It might have been like an All in the Family where they depicted, a couple sleeping in the same bed.
Yeah, because even in that movie A Christmas Story, the dad and mom sleep in different beds.
Right.
And that was in the 80s, but I think depicting the
40s. Was it the 40s or 50s?
It's so crazy, to think about that. And how, people say how far we've come, but really, how different things are now. Think of the depraved thing that you can find on the internet these days and stuff like that. And then you think literally not too long ago, you couldn't even sleep in the same bed. What?
Right. It is fascinating.
And it makes you think of the future too. Okay, from that time to now,
oh, God.
30, 40 years from now, what's it going to be like? It's crazy.
How's it going to be? So, a minute after being all hyped up about being together, how much they love each other and they're best friends, Marcy and Peg are screaming at each other.
How dare you call me irresponsible? You was the day. How many places in order, baby? How dare you call me that way? I can remember my own vacation.
If I want any advice from you, I ask for it. Oh, Al! Do something!
Both run over to Al for comfort and support.
You evil snippet.
Eat yellow snow.
Girls! Girls! Girls, who am I kidding? Sea hags. Now, what are you fighting about? And it better not be stupid.
It's not.
Well, then go on.
Okay. Without looking in the cupboard, tell me which way should the coffee cups be facing?
And I thought it was just stupid.
What's stupid is a woman who stacks them right side up so they collect dust.
Well, at home, in her defense, we recycle dust to make hot cocoa. Then, in a few weeks, it becomes porridge.
That was actually the wrong terminology. It's not facing. Because then you would say, should the handle be on the right or left in the cabinet? It's really, if it's upside down or not, I guess it's which way it's sitting.
Is
what they should say.
Right.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense.
And he calls them sea hags.
Yeah.
So for those of you not familiar, the sea hag is a fictional character in the Popeye cartoons.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was just an insult. A sea hag is actually something.
Yeah.
But now it's funny that this came up with the dust argument because I actually did this in my wife's former house, where her parents live, about 5 years ago. And at the time, her sister was living there. I put the cups so that they were upside down. So then all of a sudden, this is like, what are you doing? Why is this like this? Blah, blah, blah. And started changing them all. And I go, oh, I put them that way in my house so dust doesn't collect inside of them. And she's like, oh, nothing sits here long enough for dust to collect inside of it. Everything here gets used.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go in another room.
Wow. Right? Yeah, I'm just going to exit.
Oh, she is so obnoxious, man. And I don't want to get into it, but... so it's funny that I had to have this battle too. Not a battle. I don't care enough to battle, but the same type of situation.
Well, but you have to admit, I mean, they use the dust to make hot cocoa in the Bundy household, right? So has a use.
It does. So, and I could picture this with them. I mean, they use water for iced tea. It can't surprise you that they use dust for hot cocoa or porridge.
I think we should have an award at some point. What's the grossest thing that the Bundys have going on in the house? Because, I think to even just, I gag so much when I think of a Tang sandwich.
Oh, that's nothing, dude. That's mild now.
That's softball stuff.
Yeah, that's the glory days now.
I do. Yeah, they were partying then. They were living it up then. But, yeah, cockroaches, everything, man.
Brown, crunchy water. Yeah, it's bad now.
It's not about the cups at all, is it? What's really bothering you is the way my clothes mold themselves to my body.
Spare me the voluptuous rap, you Sasquatchian nightmare.
So in folklore, Sasquatch or Bigfoot are said to be hairy, upright, ape-like creatures. So look, that's two references to the Abominable Snowman, right?
In one episode.
One episode. Two different words, but it's the same thing.
Yep, Yeti and Sasquatch. Wow. And I love Bigfoot, actually. I have a Bigfoot air freshener in my truck. I guess I should paste Al's head on it and Peg's head on the other side.
You're being awfully humble when you say that. Alex is big time into Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Or you used to be, not so much anymore, right?
I was obsessed at one point, right?
Yeah.
Well, my sisters used to call me Bigfoot, so I'm a size 13. So,
Yeah, I was obsessed until I realized he absolutely could never exist. Because to exist, there would have to be so many of them that we would see them. There's not, to make a species continue, especially in the means they have to live, there would have to be so many that they would eventually be seen by human beings. And if there's one or two or whatever whatever they're saying happens here, there's no way that's real.
Right.
Yeah. Real quick, I had a funny story. So, I'm significantly taller than my parents. So what happened is when my age was my shoe size from the age of 5 to the age of 13. So I went up a size each year. So when I was 9 years old, one day, my feet were too tight on my shoes. I got to go to a 10. And my dad was a size 9. I was like, hey, Dad, do you want my sneakers?
Wow.
That's the opposite of usually of what you do with
right.
kids.
It's hey, make sure you double up on the socks.
Yeah,
You're gonna need it.
Chill chiclet chest.
One thing that I learned while I was doing research on this episode, they make a reference to Marcy having a chiclet chest. So I found out that chiclets were discontinued just 4 years ago in 2016.
Oh, really?
Believe that?
Come to think of it, I haven't seen them in years, like at the grocery store or anything. Wow, that's a sad thing to think about.
First Twinkies, now this. Thank God they brought Twinkies back.
I heard that they are bringing it back, thank God.
Now they're going to make blue Twinkies in honor of something. I forgot what it was, like a show or something, or a movie coming out. It's going to be blue filling. I forgot what it was, though. But.
That's what it is. Yeah. Now, Alex, in other news, we talk about things like how many chicken breasts I should buy for my diet and stuff like that. When you think Twinkie, do you even entertain eating something like that?
No.
So it's not even that appealing to you, is it?
Not even a split second have I ever pondered if I should eat a Twinkie.
I mean, well, we all know it's all natural, right?
Sure.
Exactly. It survived the zombie apocalypse for Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. And actually, there's interesting parallels. So the Twinkie was very famous on All in the Family because it was Archie's favorite, treat, whereas Al Bundy had the Weenie Tots, right?
Nice. Yep.
And Peg has bonbons.
Right.
Everybody got something.
Homer's got his donuts.
Yeah, Homer. Yeah, you're right.
Right side up.
Upside down.
Let's ask Al.
So Al tries to hang himself, but the rope was a tad too long. Can you imagine what went into that so that he's like, okay, listen, I want to do a few I'm going to hold this like 10 times and do this and make sure there's no way it'll get snagged on any of this contraption you got here. Can you imagine if he jumped and it got caught up in that thing in the ceiling and it just stayed tight? Like, rescue guys standing by, ambulance right there in case this thing gets snagged as he jumps. Because that would be insane. So Al was willing to commit suicide, but it didn't happen.
Anybody home? Hello?
So Jefferson comes by the Bundy house, and he takes off the blanket. Now, Dan, how do you feel? You mentioned you don't like the super unrealistic, so when they're like, feed me.
Feed me. Feed me.
Feed me. Yeah, I guess this would be unusual in any other home, but I think, all things considered, I'll just let this pass.
How do you feel about? I don't know if they're like impersonating a parrot or whatever, but they're.
Yeah. So for me, this falls into that category. Reminds me of Baby Bud again a little bit. It's just I don't know. So I guess it depends on the joke. It depends on the context, and sometimes I'll admit this too. A lot of the times, it's just me. It's not my type of comedy. Or if it is, it just doesn't hit me right. But that one, again, I just kind of shook my head. I'm like, it's stupid. But again, it's still entertaining. I get it, and it's a passing thing. It's a joke, and then we're off of it. They never dwell on certain things for too long to where I'm like, they're really completely overdoing this. I don't like this whole setup. They say it, we're done, we're moving on. So yeah.
And Alex, I want to ask you this: Jefferson popped something into each of their mouths. Were those chiclets?
I have no idea.
It would make more sense that they're chiclets.
I guess I'll go with that.
Yeah, and meanwhile, they can't eat those. So it's even more of a tease. They're just going to chew it and just do nothing. Stay hungry. Jefferson played with Marcy's pajamas all night before he realized she wasn't in them. And she let him do anything, man.
That was probably one of the best jokes of this episode. And the follow-up later, the payoff later was excellent, man. Yes. That made it.
It's one of those things that you can't think too much about. It's just like a joke. You know, you can't really think about it, so I won't even explore this. Otherwise, we're like killing the point of it.
Hey, bud, you seen Marcy lately? I spent all day and night in bed yesterday cuddling with her pajamas till I realized she wasn't in them. I was wondering why she was so docile. I mean, she let me do anything I wanted. You know, like have candy and stuff. You know where she might be? She went on vacation with Mom and Dad. Left us here to strive with this miserable little grub.
Hey, who are you calling miserable, you little...
And Bud throws the blanket over him, and it's like, why couldn't Kelly come up with this thing in the beginning of the season?
Right.
Why wait till now? Oh, you know what? I didn't say any of that stuff. God, I am totally losing it. I'm sorry, guys. This is totally unprofessional. Ready? This is Season 7, Episode 14. Original air date, January 24th, 1993. Director, wow, and there is something to say here. Director, Sam W. Orender. And writer, Michael Moy. I guess my point, before I realized I didn't say all that stuff in the beginning, was that this is Episode 14, and I wish they could have realized it, 14 episodes ago. We could have shut this kid up, like, a long time ago.
Right? Is that all it takes?
Yeah, if that's all it takes, hey.
Imagine the nerve of that woman leaving me just because she's mad at me for using her credit card. I mean, so what if I leave big tips with her money? I mean, what's the difference when I do wrong? I'm good looking.
You know, the attractives should have special rights. I think we should have our own parking spaces. They could have a little circle with a sparkly smile because looking at us makes people happy.
Ain't it the truth?
What are we attractive people laughing at?
Oh, not you good looking.
You ain't bad yourself.
Yeah, no kidding.
And Bud thinks he's one of the good looking. Now, I love this whole look on Bud's face. Was like, what? Like the way he's doing that between Jefferson and Kelly, because he doesn't realize that they're laughing at him, is gold. Like his facial expression and the way he's not getting it is amazing.
It is good, right? Yeah, exactly.
Even the second time he does it, it's just as good, if not better.
Mm-hmm.
How dare Marcy deny me anything besides I have every right to use this credit card? Look at it. It says right here, Marcy Darcy. Darcy, that's me.
And the mystery is, why does he still have it? How does she not take it away after what he did and how he got caught doing it and all this? Amazing. So...
You know, I have a thought.
It's almost as funny as you being attractive.
Hey.
Oh, God, I needed that.
Jefferson's really good this season.
Yes, I agree, man. You know, coming off of the last 2 episodes, too, he's been on fire lately.
Man, you know, I know we didn't really think he killed it in Season 5, and I think most of Season 6 he wasn't really killing it either. I didn't like some of the stuff they gave him, but I gotta tell you, they really figured him out after about a year or so, you know?
Well, and I know, often I've heard the argument that Jerry and I didn't go hard enough. You know, we didn't, or especially me on my end, I didn't represent Jefferson's side and defend him as much as I could. But that's the thing about being a Patriots fan when you're just a winner always. Like, it carries over. And you don't need to brag. You just are great. Jefferson just is great. I don't need to brag about it. I don't need talking points and giving Jefferson jokes. Jefferson just spits fire all the time, you know? And yes, they don't use it. Like, there was a time, remember? We were ragging on him. We were like,
oh, yeah.
You know, he's just used as a punching bag and going with the flow. Look at the last 3 episodes. Straight fire.
And what I'll say about that, because, this is like the whole Ginger Marianne thing, for Married with Children. fans, right? We have Steve and Jefferson.
Yeah.
Jefferson as a character has to be written differently than Steve.
Totally.
I mean, even though like I'm a Steve, I like the Steve years better. I mean, Steve trying to deliver these lines. Like, in other words, you cannot make this script and fit Steve in.
It's not
because
him.
Because Steve, right, it's not him.
Yeah.
So, so
Right.
all of these scripts that we've gotten, and you're right, Alex, it's a beginning toward the end of season 6, season 7, they finally found a voice and a spot for him in this ecosystem where, again, you could not use the Steve character in this way at all.
Right.
That's a great coping mechanism, too, because knowing that only he could have done this and we like it so much, it makes it way more digestible to the purists who might, like Jerry, who might want to hold on to the Steve thing and not give this guy a chance.
Right.
This quality of work from him and the quality of writing given to him, it makes it, okay, I see. You're right. This is the way to go.
Right.
So, and that's the beauty of it. Luckily, I already know that. So when I'm and we all know it, basically, but sitting through that first year of him, it was just interesting to see the evolution, if anything.
I'll throw this other cultural reference at you, Alex. Think about Bewitched, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dick York, Dick Sargent, right?
Sergeant York.
Yeah, right. You had them both, playing the same character, the same lines, right? Now, mind you, the actors delivered it slightly differently, but, you couldn't get away with that. Like what if they had recast Jefferson as Steve?
Right.
Right. In other words, technically only playing the Steve character. It just wouldn't work. So you have to come up with a new character.
Yeah, that's fascinating, that whole Dick York, Dick Sargent thing. And it's everything about it, even the names, everything is weird.
It makes me wonder, too, just the timing of the casting and the inclusion of the kid, or not really, but just the fact that they would bring him on. It's almost like I don't know if that had an effect on it, but they were almost like writing Jefferson in it more once the kid was on. Like they started to appreciate him more.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, we shouldn't be making new characters up. We should use what we have, which is they didn't utilize him for, like you said, like a year. So it's like it's time that you get down to it, and I wonder if it's one of those situations where, it's like some people do their best with their backs against the wall. Maybe this was one of those situations where they were like, oh yeah, maybe we should be utilizing our assets.
I am fascinated by, even at this point of the game, like the kid, you gotta be a bitter kid on that couch, knowing that at this point it's clear nobody wants you there. Now they're throwing a blanket over you just to give you a reason to stop talking.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, is this like the second to last time we see him?
Ooh.
Steven Scott said he had 6 episodes left after. I know he's in Peggy and the Pirates for sure.
Right. That's his last one. So I don't know if he's in the next 3. Yeah. So we're in episode 14. That's episode 18. So we only got 3 left.
I'm just happy we're in single digits. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. And don't worry about Peggy and the Pirates either. That's a really good episode, and he basically just sits there while Peg reads him a story.
Yeah. Actually, no, I'm right, Alex. I just looked it up. This is his second to last, or his penultimate episode.
Wow. What good news.
Anyhow, here's my idea. I forgot it. Wait, but here's another one. I think that you should spend an enormous amount of money. That way, when your wife comes back, she'll appreciate how little you spent before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's logic from Kelly, sure. I just can't believe everybody else went along with it.
How mad can she get? We're good looking.
Yours is horrible.
Yours is.
Yours is.
Yours is. Yours. Al, would you settle an argument for us?
No!
Al, sweetie, which one of us has a loud, obnoxious voice? Me or Marcy?
Wait a second, Al, sweetie.
He's my husband. I'll call him what I want.
Why don't you call him some of the things you call him when he's not around?
Al, you know I'm not proud of you. Why would I talk about you?
Oh, yeah?
Now, if we had to decide that based on these two, I'd say Marcy is the winner, but Peg can be pretty loud and obnoxious too.
Oh, I never.
It's a draw. It's a draw.
Yeah. How can you choose? Ow! Like, yeah, it's dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, Luigi's right. It's a draw, man. But the whole setup with this, and they continue with this for a while. What do you think? What do you guys think of this whole setup where her and Peggy start going at it the whole time? It's kind of an odd approach, don't you guys think? Or
no? It's two sides to it. It's out of character, but women can occasionally be like that.
Yeah.
That they're best friends one minute, and all of a sudden they're having a quote unquote cat fight for a week, and then they're friends again.
Right.
After they made your week miserable.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it affects everybody.
Yeah. It's okay, boys. I'll say it. I'm divorced.
Yeah, we can't say anything yet.
He's like, I can speak freely.
Who says what's the difference between Al and an egg? An egg takes 3 minutes to be done.
I said 2 minutes. And I didn't say that.
Believe me, she is lying. She has no reason to lie. I mean, she's not even your wife. But she is lying.
Silence, feline beasts. Now, we have been here for 10 hours. And in that 10 hours, the two of you have only been quiet twice. Once when I asked how come my luggage forgot to be put in the car. Another time for the hour that Oprah was on, which I find remarkable since we don't have a TV.
Somehow they knew and they just shut up.
I chuckled at that one.
Yeah, that's great.
That's good.
All right, Al. But I just have one more question. Which one of us has the firmest hiney?
I'm blind!
Which one of these two have the firmest hiney? And they both bend over in front of Al on the bed. Now, I've seen pornos that start like this. I mean, oh my God.
That was definitely unexpected. I was like, okay, that just happened.
She's in another mode, man. Like, that Marcy would never do that.
I sympathized with Al when he started screaming, I'm blind, I'm blind.
That's great.
Yeah, like, Al doesn't want to do it with his own wife. What makes you think that he wants to do it with you, his mortal enemy in life? Like, what?
And that reminds me of when Marcy was fighting with Steve and Jefferson, and she goes, take a look at what you'll never get again. And he goes, I'm blind.
Yeah, right?
And Alex, I was also thinking of the callback to Nightmare on Elm Street back in season 1.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a long callback now.
Yeah. So now we have some music that pops up. And the song...
Sounds like Benny Hill.
Yes, it's the theme to Benny Hill. Oh. And Benny Hill was referenced back in the England 1 episode. And the song is called Yakety Sax. It was a pop novelty instrumental jointly composed by James Q. Spider Rich and Boots Randolph in 1963.
Hey, Boots.
Oh.
Boots.
Boots.
They're having an argument montage in the cabin, and that's when they're playing this song. So now, at the end of this whole montage, there's like the floating heads effect, where it's just Al's head and it's a pitch black background, and then you get Marcy and Peg's head, then you get multiple heads, and they just keep yelling at each other. And then it says day 7, and it says Al misses the shoe store. You know, like sometimes you just would rather be at work, you know? So 7's pigging out and eating in the next scene. Kelly is getting a massage, and the guy giving her a massage is named Johnny in this, but his name in real life is Joel Gretsch, and he was actually in 51. He has 51 credits. He was in a lot of stuff, and he still works up until 2018. He was in Push, Minority Report, National Treasure with Nicolas Cage, and the 4400, the complete series. So he's a real actor.
Yeah, he's in Vampire Diaries too. Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, this was his second bit of work, and his third was Saved by the Bell, the new class. Sorry to hear that. Then he was in Melrose Place, which is okay. Then he was in Friends. That's pretty good. And then Bold and the Beautiful, Silk Stockings. And then, he just went on to get better and better roles. So, yeah, he actually became something.
This is obviously, a sitcom show, and I know how much you love Saved by the Bell, Alex. It's basically been confirmed that all the key players are coming back to do that show. So what are your feelings on it that, it's basically going to get made now?
I was obsessed. I will just say it. I was really obsessed with Saved by the Bell in my very early teens, like 13, 14, 15, I guess.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I could do trivia. I could probably, they're still all in my head. I can answer anything about the show. It's been a while, and as I got older, I do revisit shows and stuff. And oddly enough, I don't revisit that very often, but I try to, and every time I do, I have such a great time. Still.
Right.
So this news should be big, but I think after what happened with 90210,
right,
I don't have high expectations anymore.
Because you didn't like the 90210.
It was okay. And now that it's canceled, it's like, so that was all we're ever going to get? So now I'm disappointed,
Right.
I'm like Bill Moseley. I like to keep my expectations low. That way I'm never disappointed.
Yeah.
Good philosophy.
Yeah.
The philosopher Chop Top.
Yeah. Listen, I'm thrilled. It's a shame that Screech just cannot get on board with these guys after all these years.
Yeah, but you know what? Find some other clown that'll do it. Like, he's a joke.
I know he is, and he ruined it for everyone personally. But as a character, I would have liked to see Screech.
Same.
Yeah, it's a shame he's a douche.
Didn't he do a porno?
Yes, he did. He did, and then he was telling the dude on Celebrity Fit Club that he wanted to fight him, like on stage. I remember that. Like, he's just, I don't know. He's not like a well-liked person, I don't think.
Well, he did do a mea culpa with. He went on Mario Lopez's show,
right?
And Mario was questioning him about all this stuff you said about us, and it was like a backpedal that you've never seen before.
I can imagine.
He was even saying that some of the stuff in the book wasn't even true, and that
his book
editor put these things in.
Oh, he played it. Yeah, see.
Yeah, AKA, I haven't worked in 20 years, and I need to rebuild my career.
I need this.
I'm starving. Yeah.
But you know what though, man? I honestly think it depends on how they do it. Like, how would they approach a sitcom like that? You got so many revivals. I know it's not technically a show. Well, it is now, but think of something like Cobra Kai. Think of something like The Conners that is having an episode, a live episode tonight even. Things like that where, yeah, they're back, but they're constantly reinventing themselves. They adapt. And if it's adapted properly, I think that they can do anything. Now, with 90210, that was a little different. They took a meta approach to it, and it's kind of weird. So
Which
that
is
wasn't
weird.
Yeah, so it's all about the approach. I hope it does work. I always enjoyed Saved by the Bell. It wasn't like, I have to watch it, but I mean, every Saturday morning, I definitely checked it out, and it was part of my routine. So I don't know. I hope that they do it well. I'm definitely going to look forward to it and watch it.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was part of my 90s rotation. Ninja Turtles, Saved by the Bell, 90210, Simpsons, Married with Children. Like, I was way into all this stuff. So I'm excited. I'll definitely watch every episode, and hopefully it's great.
Right on.
So back to this episode. Bud has this chick modeling, and I guess I should say before I go too far with all this, Jefferson paid, this is the money he shelled out to use on Marcy's credit card by Kelly's advice. So he just basically treated everybody to things off of Marcy's credit card. So this girl who's modeling these clothes for Bud in lingerie, she is actually famous to some degree.
Did she pose nude?
Now, I was going to look that up, but I didn't have the time. I actually highlighted her name to type that in, And then something happened. Oh, I know what it was. That's when my internet wasn't working and it wouldn't go. She is Mindy in this episode. All she did before this was a video get off. So maybe she was nude.
Wow. Okay.
After this, oh, that's not her? Never mind, guys. Okay, she was in Weird Science, the TV show. I thought she was Lisa, but she's not. So then, Bud's beard is looking better. It looks like an actual, hair on his face. And now it doesn't look like somebody rubbed his face into her, at least, right? I guess we're going to keep going with that joke, right? Why not?
Right, might as well.
It was only said 47 times the one episode, so.
Right.
Department stores normally have lingerie shows, not guys in their living room. But then you Kennedys go your own way.
Please. Kennedy is so formal. Just call me, Bud Bud. That's right, 6 dozen roses. That's right, from me. That's right, to me. Hey, what the hell? Send another dozen to a pair of pajamas. Same address.
Yeah, and send another dozen to a pair of pajamas. Same address.
That is amazing.
That's great.
What a waste.
I mean, that to me is one of the most memorable lines of this whole episode. That just makes it for me.
Mm-hmm.
His not caring is taken to another level. Just to rub it in her face.
What a callback. I love it. So Peg and Marcy are home now. They're on the Bundy front porch.
Oh, Marcy, that was the most relaxing vacation I've ever had.
That's the thing about women. We can get in an argument and then talk it through rationally, then work it out in a civilized manner like the sisters we are.
Oh, God bless us.
He did. He made us women. But to tell you the truth, I was just lost without my Jefferson. I mean, so what if he tips big? He's good looking. I can forgive him anything.
So Marcy comes in, Peg comes in the house. Marcy just gets one gander at what's going on here, and she realizes that she's paying for all this somehow. You get that feeling sometimes.
It just clicks.
I get that feeling, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I come home and I see all this going on, and my wife's doing all this stuff, and I'm like, how do I know that you flipped my credit card over and got those 3 numbers to give the lady?
Right. Because it's so easy.
Yeah.
Jefferson Darcy, I better not be paying for this. Do you have anything to say before I kill you?
Good night.
Jefferson!
And I want to do a shout out to Annabelle. She pointed this out on the research team. So Marcy says, Jefferson Darcy, I better not be paying for this. I said, do you have anything to say before I kill you? And he says, good night. So he does the parakeet trip on her. But unfortunately, it doesn't work on chickens.
Oh.
Good joke, Annabelle.
Wrong bird.
Now all we need is a DeLorean so we can send Annabelle back in it and she can help the writers.
Are you still mad, honey?
Sweetie,
Yeah?
do you know what a Melvin is?
No.
Then let me show you.
And she walks around, grabs the back of his underwear and pulls it up, and he goes, in my day we called those wedgies.
And it's actually incorrect, Alex. So I didn't know what the difference was. So a Melvin is actually a variant of the wedgie where the underwear is pulled up from the front as opposed to the back.
She did it wrong?
Yeah, she gave him a wedgie, but it was not a Melvin.
Wow.
They point out how, I thought it was called this, but no, she's telling us something we don't know, but it turns out she doesn't know what she's doing.
Right. And one other thing, the model, when Bud says, please, Kennedy is so formal, just call me Bud Bud.
Right.
So that's a reference to John, who's John F. Kennedy Jr.
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't catch that the first time.
He might have been the only Kennedy I liked.
Too bad he died.
Well, that's how it goes for me.
Hey, Mom. Where's, what do we call him? Starts with an L?
Dad?
Yeah. is he?
Well, he kept complaining how we ruined his vacation, so I decided to let him stay up there by himself for 2 whole days. I just left the key on the table while he was out chopping wood. I hope he's finally happy.
Okay, well, why not just leave it in the front door? Like, who the hell, how close is the next place to this? Like, or why not just give it to Al while he's chopping the wood? You know?
And how did 8 feet of snow fall so quickly that he can't make it to the door?
Yeah, right?
How did they get home? How is he getting home? Didn't they all go in one car? There's a million questions here.
Well, folks, get ready for another 8 feet of snow. But we'll let the poor saps who are outside worry about that. Eh, folks?
And then they said, get ready for another 8 feet. Now, Al is roughly standing in 4.5 to 5 feet of snow at this point. So it's going to be 13 feet by the end of this whole 2 days.
Yeah, and Ed O'Neill is about my height. I'm about 6'3". And, I was about maybe 20 feet from him once. You see him on TV, but you don't really realize, again, his stature. So he's a pretty tall dude. So to have the snow up to his chin, that's pretty high.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's definitely a storm. I love with the show, though, you could take the show and just kind of start a part 2. Like, you could pick up the show right there and make an episode of that. Like, how does he get back? Does he get inside first? And, like you said, there's so many questions. Like, you can't just leave it there.
And for me, the ending was also very reminiscent of the camping show.
So, right, when he was stuck out with the animals?
Yeah, it was just a disaster at the end. So, they sort of ended it the same way. And also written by Michael Moy, all right? Because I believe that was written by the creators, Moy and Levitt.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah, the guy on the radio says, it's going to be another 8 feet, but we'll let the poor saps who are outside worry about that, eh, folks? Meanwhile, it's like, no, not really, dude. If it's 8 feet of snow, that's going to affect everybody in some way, shape, or form. We're all stuck in our houses, bro.
Right?
What is a snowplow going to do with 8 feet of snow? Like, even if you get it off the road and get it to the sides of the road, how high is that going to go, and how far out to the sides can you push all this?
Dude, that's the problem we used to have with plowing. Yeah, there's nowhere to put it.
Right, this is a major catastrophe.
We used to have to speed up. So we'd be gunning it, dude, just so it would push it would hit the snow so fast that it would launch it over the towering heap of snow that was there 2 weeks previous that's frozen over. It's insanity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if cars are parked in the street, forget about it.
Yep. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, usually when you get snowfalls that big next to bodies of water, they end up carting it over and dumping it in, whether it's the lake or the ocean, just to get rid of it, because where else are you going to put it?
They put it in Lake Chickamauga. Well, when this guy says all this stuff about the saps outside and all that, we pan to Al through the window of the front door. He's outside because Peg locked the door when she left and left the key inside, because she's a bright one. Like I said, Al's sitting in 5 feet of snow, and he's hanging out with a squirrel. All right, guys, how many dozens of roses should we send to an empty pair of pajamas out of 5, Dan?
Oh, man. I really liked this episode. I didn't think I would, just because I saw that kid so early, and I was like, oh, this isn't going well. I thought he was going to be in a majority of the episode. But once they threw the blanket over him, I knew everything was going to be all right. I give this 4.5 dozen roses. I really liked this episode. It was fun. The jokes hit. Jefferson is still a bright, shining star on this show. And, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. And I didn't think that I liked it as much as I did until it was over afterwards, thinking about it. And then now talking about it with you guys, and you guys reiterating the same things that I was thinking while watching it, it might have amplified my viewing. So, 4.5 dozen roses that I'm sending to a pair of pajamas.
Nice. How many dozens of roses are you sending out of 5 to an empty pair of pajamas for this episode?
3 dozen, Alex. I wasn't. It was an okay episode. I think a lot of the bickering between Peg and Marcy gave me as big of a headache as Al did, which, I feel like they could have delivered that quickly and not, stayed on it as much. So I feel like a lot of the screen time went to that. I mean, it had some classics. I love the payoff on the pajama joke at the end. Because of that, like I took away a dozen roses, because I think I would have started with a 4, but it was just a little too annoying for me. So 3 dozen.
Right on.
I give this episode, I'm between like 3.5 to 4 dozens of roses to empty pair of pajamas. So I'll give it a 4 though, because it was good. The premise definitely felt repeated. I just feel like I've done this before for a couple of reasons.
For sure.
They even took the same approach, like the women are in a bad mood. Because remember, they were all on their periods.
Right, yeah. Right, I mean, and in that one, it was a lot more set up joke, as opposed to just nagging.
Right.
For like 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's why I gave it a 3.
Yeah, you couldn't really hear what they were yelling at each other. I tried to focus on each one of them. I rewinded it once at least. And it wasn't really killer lines that they were saying either. It was just supposed to be inaudible shouting,
Mm-hmm.
That was a little bit of a loss. But I think what we're really supposed to take away from those scenes is the reactions of Al and him hanging himself, him looking at their asses, him, I think that's what we're really, really supposed to get more. It's not about what they're saying.
It's about the overall vibe.
Right. And how they're ruining his time and his reaction and all that type of stuff. So I am definitely going to take what they're feeding me, and I understand what they're doing.
Well, you got cracker and baking soda?
yeah. That, the parakeet thing, not so great, like Dan said, not amazing, but I did take that for what it was also. But the Jefferson stuff was great. When he was buying all their stuff, that killer line about the pajamas, and then Al being trapped, like a classic man. Life just doesn't get better for him. So I'm like somewhere there. So I'll just officially say 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was
very good.
Pretty good. Yeah. Before I say tune in next week and all that stuff, Luigi, I just want to say congratulations on your inaugural No Ma'am Roundtable show that you released.
Oh, yes.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, everybody was very excited to see what you guys came up with. It was released on February 12th, and you, Stephen Scott, and Tyler Tigno did a really good job, man. It was a great Valentine's Day special. It was nice to break it up and hear something besides us and hear your take on how to do a podcast and all that stuff. So congratulations on that, man.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'll say, we learned from the best.
Who's that?
Well, you guys, of course.
He must be listening to
what other podcast are you listening to?
Rocky and Bullwinkle and Natasha, right? No, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I have to really give a lot of credit to Stephen Scott for putting it together. It was very interesting because, all three of us had very different perspectives. Steve is in his 50s, I'm in my 40s, and Tyler is 30. So, 3 different generations, 3 different fans who looked at the show at different points in their lives. And I think we had a lot of fun talking about that. So, we had a great topic, and hopefully we can do more of those. And again, I'm going to plug Patreon. If any of you out there, the peanut gallery who thinks that they can do a better job, put your money where your mouth is. Donate to Patreon, and we'll put you on the round table.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're a patron of this show, there's a couple things you can do. You could buy a ticket to be on our show. That happens off and on because sometimes we have scheduling problems. If you go to our Patreon page, you'll see that you could buy a ticket onto the show with us.
We can freestyle battle rap.
Yeah, Russell Haddix will be on here pretty soon, and Stephen Scott will be back soon, and also Tyler, actually. You could buy, now, if you're a regular patron and you're only doing the $5 a month thing, you can also be on this roundtable. Now, listen. I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth. It's all about scheduling. They can't have 17 people on one show. they're going to have to space it out, and these guys might only do a show once every 2 or 3 months. So you got to be patient with that too. So don't become a patron just thinking, oh, I'll hop right into the round table, next week when they do a show, because you guys aren't going to do it that often, right?
No, I mean, I think, we'll take them. We're going to try to do things that may be topical. Like, for example, we're in February, Valentine's Day. I know, for example, we'd like to do a Steve versus Jefferson roundtable. We've talked about the Ferguson. I would actually love to have a bad roundtable. So maybe Steven, Scott, Dan, and myself, maybe chaired by Lacey. What do you think of that?
Bold American dudes.
She, more than anybody, would probably love that idea. We're bad, you know it.
There's endless possibilities what we could do with this show. These guys are making it happen. They know that we just don't have the time or the scheduling abilities to really do too much extra. We try, we really do, but it's very tough. But things are getting better for us, actually, when it comes to scheduling. So we're going to try to open some